Hello, hello, my dear friends, you've reached Elena's bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. She'll help improve your fitness, but there's also so much more. 'Cause here are just a few things that this channel has in store. There's barre and there's Pilates and there's belly dancing too. And many styles of yoga, so I'm sure there's one for you. Then watch her practice pianist string from right within her home. She's in such peak condition, she'll outrun the metronome. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. They're the best place on the internet, the very best by far. It's not just the piano, but the ukulele too. The guitar and violin are even more that she can do. She does so many different things, it's hard not to lose track. I nearly didn't mention that she posts on her Substack. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. Yet controversial topics may be brought up for discussion, but try not to provoke her or she'll swear at you in Russian. And sometimes certain topics can make quite a big impression. So remember, you take part at your own risk and your discretion. Yeah, Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. You might even meet Anitta if you're quite a loyal fan. She's got a fixed male cat, but she's so desperate for a man. We've really got it all, then you couldn't ask for more. So sit right back and watch Elena shave a 3 or 4. Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre. The best place on the internet, the very best by far.
Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to Elena's Barre and the Resurgence of Sanity. Today I have all of the guys from the Resurgence of Sanity with me. Are you excited, guys?
You always ask us that question. When it's your show, are we supposed to be excited?
Of
Yes,
course.
yes, we are. See,
That's why I'm
this is
asking
the coffee
you.
sport.
Oh, you need one
Yes, this is going to be so much fun.
Well, we are going to talk about a fun topic. We are going to talk about love versus trust. And I see how the feminists, they conflate the two. They believe that, well, if a man loves a woman, then he must trust her unconditionally. And even the concept of unconditional love that we've talked about before, which doesn't really exist. And I was watching the show by Donovan Sharp yesterday. He also was saying that love is conditional. So yeah, we are going to talk about that, guys, today. And if you are new here, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about these topics in the comments.
I just had a thought. I'll write it down for later.
Oh, nice. Okay, Nick, let's start with you then.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, let's go highbrow theology. Well, not. It's actually not highbrow. It's just theology. Okay. So the perfect man, sinless man. Steve will even agree with this. This is just common Christian truth. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took on human flesh. He died sinlessly. He died for people that are sinners, that were destined to go apart from his grace, apart from his love, to hell. Right? And do you think he trusts us?
No.
He loves us, obviously, right? But does he? I think he trusts us to screw up.
Yeah.
He gives us freedom.
Yeah.
Free will.
He's not surprised, but he still loves us.
If I was a god and I knew everything, so I'm an omniscient god, and I knew how every actor in the system was going to act, why, knowing how that they are lying to other people all the time, there wouldn't be any trust at all? What like the one thing we know we can rely on humans to do is to lie. Even
Yeah,
humans
there's
know
two
that.
aspects.
Go ahead.
Lying to others. But have you ever lied to yourself?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all lie. Okay, in retrospect, I can recognize the times when I lied to myself. It's called rationalization.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
If
Elena.
I'm lying to myself and lying to others, and God knows everything. Yeah, why would he trust us? Me love us. Well, he does, obviously, and it's unconditional, but it's dependent on our acceptance of the gift of his love and salvation.
Well, I just
So,
noticed that
yeah.
Elena didn't answer the question. Elena, do you lie to yourself?
Yes.
How often?
All the time.
And how do I know that? I
Just
know that.
know that.
No, I don't just know that. I know that because I have to call you out on it.
Ah, okay.
Hey, Nick, would it be loving of me to let my wife believe a lie she tells herself?
It depends on how big it is.
Okay.
Not some things are worth just passing over.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna go there. I can live with that. It's not a big deal. But yeah, sometimes but if that's your consistent thing, like on every issue, then you're never really addressing things that you have to address so that she doesn't wreck herself and you as well along the way.
Okay. I have another question for you guys. What do we most frequently accuse women of?
Lack of
Accountability.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In this vein, delusion.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the word for that in the manosphere is rationalization.
The hamster.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody is delusional, what are they doing? They are lying to themselves about something.
Self-deception.
Mm.
Right. I honestly believe that humans spend almost more time lying to themselves than they do other people. Just
Well, and they could be lying to other people to convince themselves. This is what
exactly
I see happens on social media with women. They want desperately this to be true, so they
men do
are.
it too.
Yeah.
This isn't a man or a woman thing. However, the men do have to interact with reality more than women do. Men shield women from the harsh realities.
Yeah, that's true. But can women detect lies?
Yeah.
Some can,
Oh,
yeah.
do women detect lies in their husband, in their man?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
And then what do they do?
It also depends if they're already have a view of him they view him with contempt or not.
They
as
usually
well.
call
That's a
him out
factor.
when they detect an inconsistency. Okay,
Mhm.
so can women detect lies coming from other women? Well, you would have to assume so. But do they call out the other woman for her lies? Or do they fluff her? Well, yeah, okay. Name Walt.
Yeah, they will.
But usually they just say, oh yes, yeah, you're right. They want to soothe their feelings because calling
Mhm.
out lies hurts feelings.
So they are fine to do it with men. They have no trouble calling out men. And we see so many frustrated, desperate, miserable single women out there shaming all men. But yet they don't want to solve the problem that they have. Because they have essentially even worse problem because they are not willing to face the reality. At least men are facing it to some degree. Our society holds men to higher standards. It doesn't hold women to the same standards. So
Well, in this case, it's not just about standards. It's also about the fact that men have to go out and do things. They have to produce. And the only way to produce something with your hands or with your minds is to be willing to acknowledge a reality, a shared reality.
Why do they not hold women to those standards? Okay, there's two different things. You have the old world thinking where, you just, they were under a man, a father or a husband, and if you had a problem with them, you address the father or the husband. But now they've thrown that out, but now they're proclaimed to be equals. And so the world still treats them as if they proclaim they're equals, but they're treated with accountability as they're not, yet they have no accountability usually at home either.
That's a great point, actually. Yeah, because they kind of want the old world thinking where they don't have accountability, but yet they refuse to be under the supervision and guidance of a man. They don't want to comply to the man. And look how they treat their fathers. A lot of women, how many of those girls that we see on big panel shows who come from single family households are in good relationship with their fathers?
Well, not many, but there's a lot of women in the industry that come from intact families who still choose the same path. I would say, I can't prove this, but it seems like a lot of those were grew up in intact families where the woman had more of the lead, or the man gave it to her. That's my opinion. I could change my opinion if I looked at it and someone convinced me otherwise. It's not a strongly held opinion, but it's my observation.
It makes sense. I also was observing that women who were raised by simps, the fathers who gave away their authority to the mother, they have the same outcome as the girls who are being raised in single family households by their mothers.
Very similar outcomes, yes.
Very similar, because in both cases, dads don't have authority. Dads are kind of
especially
missing.
Church dads. Especially church dads.
Church dads.
That's why their kids leave the faith in astronomical numbers, and the daughters especially rebel.
Elena, at the beginning, you mentioned that it's the feminists who see love and trust as the same thing. Yeah, okay, I'll grant that. But it's also the simps, the weak men, the naive.
Well, but aren't simps the feminists? Because look, no. Listen. If it's been propagandized to both men and women, both of them have been brainwashed to behave. Women were behaving like queens, right? They can do no wrong, and men were raised to be simps. To simp. It's the same narrative. You just approach it from different angles, from male perspective and from female perspective, but the same message that asks men
similar outcomes.
Some simps are pro-feminist. Some simps are just simps. Doesn't matter if she's a feminist or not. It's just a woman in distress.
No. The idea that a feminist raised a simp is, yes, that happens, but that's not the only way a man can come to being a simp. Remember, you're talking about 80 to 90% of all men.
Mm-hmm.
And you would basically have to say that 80 to 90% of all families, of all parent units, are also so feminist as to raise simps. I don't.
Well, it's
know
not
that you go. I don't think the math lets you get that far.
Well, let me explain this, and Nick can probably agree with me. When I was a young man, in my 30s, let's say, or 20s, I was naive. I didn't understand the nature of women. I equated love equal to trust. If I love her, I'll trust her, and I'll love her unconditionally and trust her unconditionally. And I'll go in, and yeah, society tells me, you know, we're more or less equal, and you know, she should behave in a adult manner. And I didn't I didn't assert my authority. I mean, I just assumed the responsibility, but I didn't quite understand that distinction. Was I a feminist? No, not really. She might have been a feminist, but I wasn't a feminist. I was just a dumb shit.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. If a woman
I was the
has,
same way.
hold
Yeah, I
on,
was the same way too.
if a woman has a feminist mindset, is she a feminist?
That's like asking if a woman has female nature. Is she female? It's almost a non sequitur. Because or it's a tautology. Actually, is the word I'm looking for. It's
Okay.
right. So, you know, was Steve in that example a feminist just because he didn't do all the masculine things? No, Steve wasn't out there with the sign. You know, today we'd say believe all women, but I don't know what they were back. The signs were back then, but he wasn't joining protests. He wasn't. Feminism is an activist thing, and
Well, but okay, if it's an activist thing, what would you say about all of these women who are not actively participating in all of the protests, but they still have the feminist
well,
mindset?
but do they say I'm a feminist?
No, they can say that. No, I'm against feminism. I'm against feminism, but because she has been brainwashed by the feminist programming. This is what I'm saying, guys. You like
Right.
you. What you are doing here is
Right.
you say that for men,
Calm
men,
down. Calm.
it's okay for
calm,
men not to be a
calm,
feminist.
Calm.
Okay.
Here's what's happening. The feminists are out there. They are real, and there's lots of women out there. The men are adapting. Okay. So what Steve described was an adaptation. He grew up hearing all of this. He never heard anything else. And the reason I'm using Steve as an example is because Nick and I are younger.
Same applies to women. Women haven't heard anything else.
No. Okay. Women have feminist ideology, even if they say they're not feminist. The similar or the behavior of men, which might promote the same end, is not feminist behavior or a belief in the man. It's the man being naive and weak and uninformed. Well, naive means uninformed. So even though the result may be the same, or they may feed one another into the same outcome, that doesn't mean most simps are feminists. Some might be, if they're actually promoting the elevation of women. Well, yeah, feminist. Most men do not promote the elevation of women. They just give in to women because it's easier and go along to get along. That's weakness. That's naivete. It's not feminism.
Right. Don't
it's happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. We have to be careful not to confuse a lack of concern for active participation in something. Are there men who promote feminism? Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't think that's the majority of the men. The majority of the men, frankly, just want pussy. We're 20 minutes
or peace. And they think happy wife, happy life will give them peace and pussy, but gives them neither.
See, the world, what you're actually watching is the world has told these men, if you want what you want, pussy, peace, whatever, do these things and you will get it. What's happening lately is the men are starting to say, I did those things. I'm not getting what you promised. That's the backlash. And I'm not talking about, in this case, the red pill space. I'm talking about just average men choosing to check out. They're looking at what's happening, and they're looking at all the promises that were made about how women would treat them, and they're going, but you're
Well,
not actually
I
doing
could
that.
say the same is happening. The same is happening to women. They did all of the things that feminism told them to do: pursue your career, become Miss Independent. You don't need no man. Be a strong, powerful, independent. And then Prince Charming will show up after you are done hoeing around.
Yeah,
And
the Sheryl Sandberg thing. But
yeah,
for women, that lie allows them to get to the age where they can't actually get the guy anymore. That it's a very different mechanic. The men check out early because the men aren't so disconnected from reality that they can't see what's happening to the other men around them. The young men are looking up at really Nick and I and our cohort, and they're seeing everything that's happened, and they're just going, nah, fam, I'm good. The women just don't behave that way. Every woman will tell herself, I will beat that. I will be the one.
I am the exception.
Yeah, I am the exception. That is the
I am
female
a
delusion.
snowflake.
mhm.
That's the
Special
delusion.
snowflake.
So it's actually I know we've spent 20 minutes on this, but it's actually very important to get this right.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk about love and trust, first you have to define just how frequently women lie to themselves.
Well, men too, but
Yeah.
but it's different. I mean, yeah, on the surface it's the same, but a man keeps evaluating facts that come in. Is my opinion right? Oh, here's another fact. Does that fit? My outcome with my beliefs. Oh, here's a outlying thing that my outcome isn't consistent with my actions and my beliefs in this data coming in. So men evaluate. There's I guess you could call it an OODA loop there to get them out of this
There
stuck
is.
nature. Where I don't really think it works the same with women. They get it stuck with a mentality, and then they filter out anything contrary, any facts contrary to their reality, and only take in the same things and say, oh, if only this were different, then my belief would be right. Oh, yeah, you know what? I never found the right man. I need to go out and find my person.
They are trying to adjust reality
One-itis.
according to their beliefs.
Right. So think about what Steve just said. He said, oh, I need to go out and change the man.
Mhm.
Right? That's how women think. They don't think
My
I need to
beliefs.
I don't think they don't think, oh, I need to change myself to get the man to get the
Mhm.
man I want. And part of the reason they don't think that is because by the time you get to 30, 35, you can't.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing you can change that you could, give a guy that he wants. Because what do men want? Youth, beauty, fertility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's
We want the shiny new car, not the rusted down, broken.
Let's go analogy.
well, so what
That
women
makes
do.
sense.
What women do is they instead try to convince men that that rusted out Hulk on the used car lot really is a shiny new Porsche.
Well, but men know better. The rational men who have evaluated.
But here's the thing. I actually do believe that most guys, even the ones I'm not talking about the simpiest of the active simps, but most guys just going through life, they know she's not all that. But for the first time, a woman touched his pee-pee, it gave him attention, gave him right, yeah.
Yep.
Right. And so he's willing to go along with her delusion. And this is why I think it was so important to open with what, you know, we were saying earlier. You know, most men are aware that their wives are a little out to lunch, and they
Yeah,
just tolerate it.
that's so true.
Left Steve's face.
Yeah. Okay, they're
Just
gonna
had
go
that
off.
smile on his
They're
face.
gonna go off the deep end and rant and rave and okay, yeah. He's just a little bit inner feels today.
Yup.
I'll just chill out and maybe tomorrow she'll be more rational.
No, maybe next week. Next week. Come on, guys. You know what I'm talking about. It's always
And Elena's laughing.
Because it's true. I mean,
So let me bring this back to okay, the topic is love versus trust. And Elena brought up transactional. Love unconditional or transactional. And I remember something I watched from Orion Terabin.
mhm.
And he says, yes, you know, and I just did a quick search. And he basically says relationships are transactional.
Yeah.
And then there's one where he specifically says love is not transactional. So let's draw this distinction. A relationship is not transactional. Love is unconditional. Okay? Let's theoretically just say that. A man can love with his
I
whole
recently, sorry, Steve,
being.
I just saw his video and he recently said that the only unconditional love comes from that. And as for the rest of the relationships, they are all conditional. I saw his short video on Instagram.
The relationship is conditional. Absolutely. The love is not conditional.
Let me see if I can find the video.
Love is not okay. I'm throwing this out there, and you can take shots at it. Love, you know, you can love your woman with your whole heart and be willing to give your life for her and defend her and all that. Therefore, there's no conditions on that. Okay, but the relationship is still transactional. And you know, a difference between love and trust, maybe it means that trust is conditional and transactional, but love isn't. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, you're talking about active trust versus passive trust. Okay. For those theology nerds, yeah. So passive trust is the passive faith, faith and trust can kind of be conflated in the Greek. So, in regeneration, God so changes the heart, and then there's a sense of passivity where you're passive in the regeneration, but that doesn't mean it stays passive. It becomes an active trust. And if you don't have the active trust, it's no trust at all. Assuming that you mature in this life from an infant, whatever. So trust means you have a certain faith or trust in that person. They have a reliableness for that relationship or the terms of a contract, etc. A covenant, you could say. And if somebody breaks that trust, normally you think that it sometimes it can be repaired, sometimes it cannot be repaired. So like Judas, he broke it in such a way that it was never repaired. I would argue he actually never had true faith to begin with, but I'm a Reformed guy, so it comes with that territory. There's a sense in which you can break a trust that so ruins the relationship. Nonetheless, did not Christ love Judas as a brother? Yes, he did. So there's a sense in he has his love still covered somebody who totally ruined his trust.
So, Nick, I want to do something here. I want to steel man this a little bit because I think this concept works elsewhere. Okay, most of us have a car, and cars are very expensive, and if something bad happens to our car, we're gonna get pretty angry about that, right? But every so
Probably,
often,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, but every so often we have to turn our car over to somebody else to get it fixed,
Yep.
right? What happens if that person, say, nicks your car, put a nice scratch down the side of the car? Are you going to take your car back to that shop?
Probably not.
Okay. So trust is something that occurs in all sorts of relationships, personal and, professional. There's I could make this exact same argument about your doctor, right? You expect, like, let's say you need a surgery. You expect your doctor not to nick an artery and let you bleed out all over the floor, right? But you're under anesthesia. You are asleep. You can't watch him. You have to trust that he's competent to do what he is being paid to do in this case. Okay. So we can look at this and we can say there is no society without trust. But there's also no society with unconditional trust, because going back to the car example, there's other service providers out there. If one of them breaks my trust, I can, if Bob's breaks my trust, I can go to Joe's down the street, right? That's even true with doctors. If you don't, what do we say? Get a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Get a second opinion is code for one of my favorite sayings, Ronald Reagan: trust but verify.
Yeah.
Well, to keep this up and build on it, compared to a relationship, when you bring your car to that mechanic to fix it, you have a huge level of trust that he will care for it and fix it and return it to you.
Mm-hmm.
When you enter a marriage contract, you have a high level of trust that the woman will perform. But similarly, when you get your car back, you kind of test to see, hey, did it get fixed? Is there anything wrong with it? Do I need to adjust my level of trust?
Mm-hmm.
In a marriage, even if you don't think it happens, the same kind of thing happens. Your wife disappoints you or screws up. Okay, you're going to adjust your level of trust. You don't necessarily adjust your level of love, because once you love somebody, theoretically, that love exists until the breach is so great that you have to, and it's a painful thing for a man to pull back his love. Would you agree, Nick?
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know how early you should do that. It could have been 6 months ago, could have been today. And you're wondering, is today the day? Or let's put it this way. So I had my false DV. It was like the last day of I don't know, maybe the last day of November 2022, right? I found the text messages. I started adding everything up in my head. I was entertaining some red pill content, but it wasn't like red pilled until like the day after I finished. I had Rich Cooper's book came in literally the day after. This happened, and he walked out the entire scenario. I was like, damn, I wish I had this the day before. There was an episode it was like in January, I think, of 2023, where I was asking, am I going through a divorce? He said, yes, this is the frying pan on the forehead moment. You are going through a divorce. And everybody kept telling me, no, you're not going through a divorce. No, you're not. And I had it in my head that I was going through a divorce. But it took me a while to execute. And that delaying probably cost me a bit. You don't know when you need to withdraw. A lot of times it can be very confusing, especially with there's a lot of deception involved in purposely you're blocked from any communication to verify what's going on.
Well, Nick,
So you would kind of withdrawing. You were in the process of withdrawing your trust, which that's not so difficult. It's a huge deal. It's a lot of effort to withdraw your love.
Not for women.
well,
No, but for
I
men
noticed
it
that
is.
women, they don't really love their husbands, because the moment he fails somewhere, she's like, okay, I'm out of the relationship. My vows mean nothing.
that's a culture. That's a cultural thing. To Nick's point, don't beat yourself up too bad. Remember, you had a lot of kids to think about.
Mm.
Right. And I'm bringing this up because I want guys to understand that Nick and I, we had two different sets of decision matrices that we had to go through. Okay. Nick had 7 kids. I had 0. So for me, the threshold was, does she love me? Do I still love her? Yes, no. And then once the answers for me is no, I can be done. I can be out. Nick has to think about 7 other people. Okay. Yeah. He's going to and he should take more time. That's why I'm saying, Nick, don't beat yourself up too bad. Okay. Like I understand what you're saying, about, the book came and that's great that you got the book. I'm just, you had a difference. You had 7 other little people to concern yourself with.
It definitely complicates.
Right. And so
children, it's easier to do a divorce. With kids,
well, but this goes to love. Does anyone here think that Nick doesn't love his kids?
No. He loves them with all his heart. He's willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to be in his kids' lives.
Sacrifice.
Because he knows it is going to dramatically affect their outcome.
Yeah.
And that's more important to him than anything else. Anything else. Including
an ex-wife. But at some point you do have to pull the ripcord, I think. Because and this is something I wanted to get to. We were talking about, how modulating trust levels. We have to remember that we are handing our offspring over to the woman. Men go out, they work, they come home. The women are responsible for the children for the majority of our waking hours. The reason that I wanted to bring up the point about Nick's kids is because Nick does still love his kids unconditionally. He does, right? The men never stop loving their kids. Okay? But we have to hand our kids off every day to the women to go to work. Right? We have to trust the women to some level. And when a woman does something like that, like what was done to him, can you trust that woman with your kids anymore?
No, but what does the legal system do? It's even though, okay, she did it to him, we don't care. Kids still go to the mother.
We know, we've talked about that. Not the point of this stream. You're right, but the point of this stream is love versus trust. It should make you mad.
They want men to blindly trust these feminists who screw up their kids' lives. And then
that was the pastoral counsel I received.
Right. So,
you need to trust your wife. I'm like, yeah, how did that work out?
Well, it's not fair. And here's the proper way to do it. And truth will prevail.
Yeah, right.
Bullshit. Truth doesn't necessarily prevail. Yes, it's not fair. Yes, it's not moral. Those are the outcomes. And yeah, that's what happens, which goes back to the entire premise. You can love unconditionally. Could you trust unconditionally? Because the consequences don't come from loving too much. It comes from trusting too much.
And to add to your point, Steve, the truth will not prevail if they keep suppressing it. If they keep pandering to the delusions of women, how can you trust women when you know that they live in their delusions?
You don't. You don't trust women.
What about Proverbs 31?
No, what about it? Can you read it for us?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pull it up on the Bible Gateway thing. Bible right behind me. Okay. It says, okay, here we go. Blah, blah, blah. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Mm. Who can find one, though?
Oh,
It's not to say they
go
don't
to
exist.
church.
I can't hear you.
I go to church, and the pastor tells me she's a good woman. Just trust her. And then you activate this kind of perfect behavior in her. Does it work that way, Nick? That's kind of what
No.
the church is pushing us to do.
No.
Trust,
Look,
and then she will become.
Yeah, right. Doesn't work that way.
trust is earned.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, they come from good stock. They're raised properly, have a father in the home, demonstrated good moral behavior most of their life. You know, they have a husband, and she proves to be trustworthy by her behavior, not just her words.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can have a modicum of trust by behavior. But don't just trust for the sake of, oh, if I love her, I have to trust her in everything she does. I said based on what behavior. Trust but verify.
So you're saying you trust her because she behaves. She doesn't
Yeah.
behave because you trust her.
Correct.
Okay. I want to take this a little bit further here, because I hear this one all the time. But she has demonstrated that she's trustworthy. You should trust her now. Trust is not a binary. It's not a woman does X, therefore I can trust her to do Y. Trust exists on a spectrum. And you can do things that add to the trust, and you can do things that take away from the trust. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times in our relationship, I've had to tell Elena, you're going to have to not do that anymore. Why? It's risky. It's untrustworthy behavior. It's risky for her too.
And look, let's put it on another level. You're right. Both men and women violate trust all the time, in that they are sinners. If they're Christians and they trust in Christ, they violate that trust. They're not fully trustworthy. The only person that is, I would argue, is the sinless one, Christ. If you want to go binary.
Yeah, here's a problem. When men screw up, men are encouraged to say, yep, I screwed up. I take responsibility for the problem I caused, and I'm accountable. And he thinks, because other men say, oh, great. Yep, I've done that. I guess the trust is maintained. But a woman may see that, oh, he acknowledges he made a mistake. Now I see him as a weaker man. Oh, there's reason not to trust. Now, a woman so much believes that when it comes to her accountability, when a woman is caught dead to rights doing something wrong, will she take responsibility for what she caused? No, she'll
Probably
blame
not.
somebody else. Will she acknowledge her that she was accountable and she overstepped her authority or she did something wrong? No, because
he's
then you
abusive.
would see her as a lesser person. So therefore, her inability to do that makes her less trustworthy, but men don't really see that. In her mind, if you don't know it, it didn't happen. But when a man takes too much, does too much of a confession to a woman,
Yep, I did
that's
that.
a tough one.
Because I was accountable.
If you acknowledge your error to a woman, she's going to file that away. Say, see, here's example of you were wrong in the past, and now you're wrong now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. This is a tough one. What's the answer, Nick? How much accountability should a man be accountable to a woman?
Well, if it's something that you did violate your trust, I mean, just say, look, yeah, I wouldn't be doing it all that. Yes, you always need to, take responsibility, but don't do it in a way that makes you lesser in her sight, if that's possible.
So
I don't know if
Rollo
there's a
called it
perfect solution.
don't self-discriminate, I think, in his book.
And don't tolerate her
Yeah.
demeaning of you. Say, yeah, this is what happens. Okay, there we go.
Well, there's another point here, I think.
Don't get into the weeds with it. Just don't tolerate it. Just say no.
Yeah. Well,
I did my duty. I'm accountable. I apologize. I'm moving forward. If you don't like it, well, that's tough shit. So,
well, Steve, you said something interesting that a thread I want to pick up on. You said men. So when I take accountability for something as a man, other men see that and go, yeah, aha, you took accountability for that. I can trust you. I think we as men assume that women are doing the same thing.
So
We
told her,
assume-
I just forgot to talk about Eamma to take it out of the dryer. But that was it. And if she would
they take accountability for weakness, I think. For proof of weakness.
Right.
Versus you can get like the rake guy, if you want to go to like the type of men, the rake guy, the dangerous guy. He can be immoral all he wants, and he doesn't give a crap. But they will view that guy in their degenerate minds, as I'll call it, the women's degenerate minds will view that guy as somehow superior and stronger than the man that takes responsibility.
Well, there's probably a whole stream we could do on the concept of taking responsibility as weakness, because I absolutely agree that women view it that way. It isn't, but that's more a defect of their upbringing.
Yeah.
Somewhat, but okay, what we're getting at here is men and women process information, data, and behavior and emotions completely different. So if you're assuming a rational person is going to do this because I observe, all the men who take accountability and acknowledge their mistake. Oh, okay. That's how I behave there. Do not assume that women's thought processes are the same. They're different. I'm not saying they're lesser. They're different. And women shouldn't assume that men process information the way a woman processes information.
Which is part of the reason that we say that trust has to be conditional. I mean, theoretically, if a guy understood everything about how the woman was processing information and was so attuned to how women he could construct her reality, he could reconstruct her reality in his mind and understand what she's thinking. no human can do that.
Well,
So we
but
use a
guys,
heuristic.
check. It comes back to the feminist propaganda. No.
No,
Because, well, check here. Both men and women, they believe that they are equal. They are the same. They think the same. So all of these principles.
no. This goes much further back into human. This is base human psychology. This goes way back before feminism or any of that. Men have think about the old order. How long has the old order been around? Right, you know,
Creation or creation in the fall. Yeah.
right. The old order functioned because there were certain expectations placed on women's on their behavior. The women knew that despite their nature that they had to behave in a certain way to be accepted in society. Okay? The feminism is not a constructive ideology. It is not trying to fabricate a new reality out of thin air. Not really. It's trying to destruct and listen to the feminist propaganda and how they talk about it. Feminism is trying to destruct the boundaries that kept women in line. So if there is some amount of trust that I can place in a woman who has been raised according to the societal boundaries and expectations, right? She's in theory, and this of course was not true of all women. Even the Bible has stories of, you know, whores and Jezebels, right? You know,
Correct.
right. There's always going to be women who don't follow these boundaries, but in general, you had a reasonable probability that the woman you picked was going to follow these boundaries, and therefore there was a baseline of trust that you could establish. She was raised by a dad, you know, her dad was in the house, taught her how to, you know, be a woman. She had a you know, mom who taught her how to take care of the house, right? Those were all things that you could reasonably assume were done to some degree. And you could, and this part of the courting process or whatever process they used would have included the man and the woman being together so that the man could see that she could actually do these things. Now, together, I mean in like a group setting, right? He'd go over to the family for dinner. That's a common example. And he could see that she could, you know, she would go off with mom and you know, do the cooking and cleaning, and the guys would go off and they would do their thing. You know, even in my family, after dinner, the guys didn't clean. Well, some of us did, you know, but we would also go off and like we would be like cleaning brush outside, right? You would go off and you would do some outside work, you know, chopping down and cleaning something, right? The men would go off, do their work. The women would go off and do theirs. And you knew that baseline trust was there, that baseline was there. And you could reasonably rely on it. Not perfectly. Nothing in this world is perfect.
Yeah, well, like, look, because of the societal boundaries and expectations that we are missing today, because these societal boundaries and expectations only exist for men right now, but not for women.
Right. That's the destruction of feminism. It is not a constructive ideology. It's a destructive ideology.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just feminism. Feminism says that
Yes,
women.
You talked about boundaries.
Yeah.
In the past, I've talked about discipline. Find a disciplined woman. Wait, discipline, boundaries, same concept. If she was encouraged or taught with discipline to respect the boundaries of society, her father, the hierarchy, she has self-discipline to not cross that boundary. Without crossing the boundary is the problem, and that reduces trust. What prevents her from crossing that boundary? Well, she lacks the self-discipline not to do that. So, you know, I think it's a valid way of looking at it. The boundaries. How do you make the boundaries real. They have to recognize the boundaries, and that requires training and teaching. And that teaching is called discipline, external. And then you teach those values or those principles to the woman, and she understands the boundary. And nope, I see that boundary. I'm not going to cross it. A woman without discipline will just say, screw the boundary. I'll do what I want.
Right. So a disciplined woman can be trusted to a higher degree than an undisciplined woman. So when you're looking at women and you're vetting women and you're saying, you know, okay, who do I want? A disciplined woman is always going to be more trustworthy. But they're not going, no human is completely trustworthy. And there's this whole there's a whole line of thought we can go down on that one. But we have to separate this idea that women, we have to separate from this idea that women were trustworthy and now they're not. No, humans, this is what Nick was saying earlier. Humans earn trust through trustworthy behavior. Okay. You have to keep your word. You have to behave in the ways that the person expects you to behave. And some of that's going to be cultural. Some of that's going to be, you know, just base human nature. You know, as you know, what we were saying earlier. Oh yeah, the Jezebels, they were around since the dawn of recorded history, right?
Well, I have a question for you. Sorry for interrupting. It just, you know, you're going nonstop. And there are content creators who say that, well, if a man is a gentleman, he will open the door for a woman, he will pay for her meals and everything without having any expectations from her. I see a lot of that kind of content for men. So it's men teaching other men how to be a gentleman to a woman.
No, it's not to teaching them how to be a gentleman.
Yeah, right. But yeah, what's your thought on that?
So one of the problems that we do have is the fact that men are still expected to behave to the old order versus women are not. And the women desperately want men to behave as old order men, and they desperately don't want to have to behave as old order, well, women.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're trying to, so these men, they go out and they're basically just, it's what we said at the beginning. They're saying, oh, happy wife, happy life. These are all just highly complex actions you could, you know, like ideas for how to achieve happy wife, happy life. Well, open the door for her, buy her a dozen roses every day. You know, we call that simping, but it's really just a way to try and purchase trust.
Oh, if I'm nice, I'm a nice white knight, shining armor, and I treat her nice, I'll get pussy, right?
Exactly. No. you won't, but that's the covert contract. And so that's the other thing these guys are teaching these men. They're teaching men to operate in a feminine frame using covert contracts. And then we wonder why women hate us. Who wants to operate under a covert contract? Man or woman? Who wants to?
Not me.
Well, to be honest, no. I'm beyond that. But did I operate under covert contracts in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in my 20s and 30s? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did too.
Yes.
Read No More Mr. Nice Guy. Read No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talks. That's really good about the covert contracts, about having your own Basically, your own agenda and not putting up with bullcrap.
The interesting thing
Having
about
boundaries.
the interesting thing about covert contracts, though, is they are actually, in fact, a reaction to a lack of trust. It is an attempt to enforce it is an attempt to enforce a certain behavior in an environment where you don't actually trust the person to do it. But the difference is you're not using active coercion. You're using you're not using the stick. You're using the carrot.
Can you elaborate on that?
So it's the carrot and the stick, right? So I'm gonna with like a donkey. You offer the donkey the carrot to get it to do what you want, and if it doesn't do it, you smack its butt with the stick. Okay, so when I say carrot versus stick, what I'm saying is that a covert contract is an attempt to elicit behavior out of somebody that you don't trust to actually do it by offering them an appeasement in return, by offering them a treat in return for doing it.
And what if that person doesn't do as you want?
Well,
do you still keep feeding it with the carrot? I mean,
well, that's what these guys are doing. They're saying just keep feeding her the gentlemanly behavior. Just keep praying with her. Just pray more, bro.
No, I was told just trust her more, just sacrifice more, just love more.
Oh, come on.
And it'll automatic, and it's a promise of God. I heard one pastor say, I think he meant well, but it was naive. They will follow. They will follow you if you do this.
So they took the carrot.
No.
Tied a string on the carrot, tied it to the end of the stick, strapped it around the donkey's head. So the carrot is out in front of the donkey. Oh, problem solved. Now I don't even have to pay attention. Oh, I have an extra carrot here that I'll feed it. That donkey will just follow me because the carrot is just dangling a foot in front of the donkey's head. I don't need a stick. I don't even have a stick anymore. Well,
but
there are no consequences then. Sometimes, a man sometimes needs a swift kick in the ass. A 2x4 upside the head to knock some sense into him.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that women don't need the same thing? Metaphorically, I'm speaking metaphorically here. You kind of need that stick.
No, it won't work. Chances are it won't work. They have to have had that growing up. You can't fix. Chances are you can't fix a woman growing up without having had the stick from a father.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can't stick a woman into good behavior?
No.
Nope. Well, which is why we say, I mean, we're talking about the stick metaphorically here, but look, guys, it is also true that trying to, for lack of a better term, beat your women into submission doesn't work either. And this is what Nick is getting at. If they weren't trained this way growing up, they are not. You will not be the one to train them, guys. You
don't be Captain Save-A-Ho.
Exactly. You're not. It is not your. It's not something that you are even really in the natural order supposed to be doing. So I would make the argument that that's going against the natural order. Even it was supposed to be their parents that did it.
But then that's pro-feminism, because feminism is destroying the natural order. You've mentioned before that feminism is destructive of the prior order, right?
But that's a parent's thing.
What is it?
It's a parent's problem. Their parents didn't their parents didn't do it to their kids. I think, was it on Wednesday I said this, so I'll say it here for your crowd. Your primary personality, The core disciplines and features of your personality that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life, no matter what, are formed by the age of 6. There is absolutely nothing a man can do when he's getting married to a woman at 26 to change those core personality bits about you. You were either raised that way or you weren't. And so, guys, don't try to think that you can stick your women into being trustworthy.
Submission, yeah.
You can't.
Their parents failed them.
Yes, they did.
Well, they also failed the man by telling the man be
they
a
don't care
better
about that.
servant leader. But it matters. It matters
Oh.
because it creates the society that we are living in
They,
right
but they
now.
don't care about that.
But it's
It
men's
creates men
lives.
that the
Men's
women are
lives get
attracted to on
ruined.
the pill.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Nick, you're right. It does.
Because it
Don't
also
mess with
teaches-
Well,
nature.
for such simple words, love and trust, we've sure talked a long time about it. Sounds like it's a lot more complicated than most people think.
I think part of the problem that we face today is people want it to be simple. If we make trust and love these simple Disney concepts, oh, I love this person, tingles. Oh, because I love them, I must trust them. These the Cliff Notes version of a relationship. There's no, they don't sit down and think about what it actually looks like. They've never been taught what it actually looks like. Their parents didn't model it for them in a lot of cases. And they certainly didn't enforce it on them. What else would we expect? And yes, I have been accused of not trusting Elena. And my response to that has lately been, you're right, I don't. Not how you mean it.
It's a matter of degree, though. You
It
don't
is.
mistrust her. You
Nope.
trust her in certain things. In other things, no, you don't trust her beyond her role or authority. But
with
in other
cards.
areas, you do trust her. So in some areas, your trust is close to absolute. In other areas, well, no, I'm not going there.
Pretty much.
Yeah, those cards.
Well, so for example, she does her shopping in the morning. She does the shopping for the week in the morning before I'm even awake. She goes, runs into town, goes and gets the food, comes back. I trust her to do that. Look, there are guys out there who they have to go with their women everywhere because they don't trust the woman to not stop at, say, Target, because women have this unhealthy obsession with Target, and buy something that they can't afford on the way home, right? There's lots of guys out there who are actually dealing with that exact problem in their relationships right now. I know to you that it sounds like this silly little thing. I'm telling you, there are lots of guys out there who they have to go shopping with their women every time, because if they send her on her own, she's going to come back. She's going to drain the bank account and come back with a bunch of stuff they
Well,
don't
it's
need.
lack of self-discipline. This is
Yes,
what
it
me
is.
and Steve were saying.
So, but
Mhm.
but how that lack of self-discipline manifests in the man's behavior is that he has to, in this particular case, he has to go with her to tell her no. And, you'll often hear us describe women as children. Well, adults have discipline. Children don't. Okay. The dividing line between an adult and a child is the ability to tell themselves no, which is really what discipline is. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do what I need to do. I'm not going to, spend all the money. I'm not going to, buy things. I'm not going to, oh, here's another one that women love to do. I'm not going to go buy a bunch of extra food and then eat it, or buy candies, sugary drinks. Yeah, no, I know, but you see them on Instagram all the time, packing food away and then expanding waistlines for it.
Oh,
Food is another area of discipline.
I don't buy sweets. I only buy dark chocolate. It's the only sweet that I buy.
Well, right, but you have discipline.
Yeah.
So when a guy is looking for a girl, all of these content creators out there saying, "Oh, just bring her flowers and open the door for her." They're trying to tell you to not look for discipline in a woman.
But it feeds straight into the female delusions, because this is what women want. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be said no to. They don't want to be disciplined.
Just get on your knees, pedestalize her, and she will give you what you want. This is right. Yes, Nick, but that is what these guys tell people because that's what women say will work.
Well, they listen to women's words. They trust women's words. Instead of watching her behavior, they blindly believe that whatever she says on social media must be true.
Right. So, I've said this before on our streams, that we live in a low trust society. And what you just said is, oh, well, they blindly trust. Believe it or not, blind trust is actually a very common feature of low trust societies because you don't know who to trust. So you think to yourself, oh, I'm just going to go listen to an authoritative source.
Mm-hmm.
Well, aren't women an authoritative source on what women want?
Of course they are.
No.
They try to be.
Full of shit. Full of shit.
I know. I'm just teasing you guys.
That's like the dating advice they give. It's like makes a good build a better beta. But how come they keep settling for the jerk, even though they say this, and the one guy that shows up doesn't give a fuck, is good looking, just doesn't give a fuck, doesn't fit any of that. They'll go, spend the night with that guy.
Yeah,
all that advice.
Their legs are over their heads. Their legs are over their heads before their brains caught up to where they are. Yeah.
I keep saying to women all the time. Oh, Ashton is here. Great to see you, girl. Don't take the advice you hear on social media from women seriously. Okay, you can laugh at it.
Don't take it at all.
Don't take it. Yeah. You can.
You realize
have fun
the
with
implications of what you just said.
Well, I do.
You can recognize whether a woman is a disciplined woman or not from a great distance.
Yes, you can.
Simply by the size of her shadow.
You mean don't wife up a land whale?
Well, okay. If a woman can't say no to food,
yep,
she can't say no to her desires, which tends to carry over to every aspect of her life.
But guys, you have to be careful here because there are a lot of skinny, beautiful women out there, but they have lack of self-discipline. Okay, they've developed some discipline to do fitness. They go to the gym, they hang out with fun dudes, right? But as for everything else, they still have that entitled attitude.
No. Okay, no, sweetie. No. Did they develop a discipline to go to the gym and exercise, or did they develop the discipline to go to the gym to look at men's asses?
Well, maybe both.
Nick knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Nick, you're on mute, but
the loud housekeepers are probably gone away. So yeah, I'll probably see some of that again today. It's like nonstop, and just
right.
I have my headphones on, I do my own thing and don't engage.
Right.
People say
Yeah.
I should. I'm like, but are they the type of people I want to engage with? I don't know.
Oh, you mean they're not
I'll
disciplined?
engage with the guys there. I'll engage with the guys there. We recognize each other. We're always
Uh-huh.
there and doing our thing.
Right.
They keep flocking though. Like they see a good looking girl, they all kind of move over, watch,
Oh,
and like,
jeez. This
guys,
is the
stop it.
advice. Okay, I'm telling you where it's coming from because I know the guy who tells women to go to the gym to find guys, wealthy guys. Especially, they say go to the expensive gym where the high value men go. And then dress up nicely, and it's a full scam, for women. So women listen to this advice.
Right. But that's not discipline. See, you said discipline to exercise. No, that women do not go to the gym to exercise. They do not go because of discipline. The one thing you can be sure of is that when a woman locks a man down, she stops going to the gym.
Yeah, that's so true. They
Because it
become
was
lazy.
never about the gym.
Yeah, it was never about the gym. It was never about exercising. I personally have respect for people who attend classes, like group classes, because there is a specific schedule. You show up, it's sort of disciplining you. But there are so few women who do it. Most women prefer to use the equipment where all of the big boys are hanging out. They don't
Right.
want to come to class where they will be kicked by their instructor, for example, by me, right?
To do their
They'll say,
booty, to do their booty exercises and whatever the hell that hip thrust is. I
Oh.
don't even know what the name of the damn.
Right.
I'm sure there's like a reason for it. I just like you won't catch. I don't know. I haven't seen
they
a
don't
guy
want
Probably
to
ever
come
some
do
to
that.
glute
class
exercise.
where they will be
Yeah.
corrected. Guys, they don't want to come to class where they will be corrected. They prefer to go do some machines. So what happens usually when they sign up for the gym, they have somebody explaining to them how to use the equipment, and then women can do it by themselves. And then they go around and circle the machines, but they don't come to class. I only get a few regular women who are consistent, and they are actually quite decent women to hang around with. And as for the rest, it's like I don't see a lot of women.
Well,
attending my
okay.
classes even.
Are there women out there who have discipline? Yes, there are.
But there are so
There are.
few of them.
There's not a lot of them.
Mhm.
They do exist. Now, a woman has discipline. Do I trust her completely, guys?
Oh,
Not you.
Well, I guess I'm just a misogynist.
yeah, right.
Don't care.
Well, it goes back to just because somebody has been properly raised doesn't mean that they're going to robotically follow all the rules all the time. Women still get tingles.
Oh, so they get tingles for the rule breakers. It's adventurous.
They're bored.
Oh man.
So just because a woman is disciplined, it's a great step, and a disciplined woman is so much nicer to be around than an unruly, undisciplined one.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean, guys, that you just turn your sensors off and you put everything on autopilot and go about your life. Nope. What in the red pill? What are we always saying? Game.
Go ahead.
You still have to.
What? There's no such thing as a self-correcting woman.
Is there such thing as a self-correcting a man who self-corrects himself all the time, 100% of the time either? No.
No, sometimes I need the correction of my friends, my good friends, who will call me out on my bullshit.
Yeah, but do you remember we did an episode of friendship, how it's different for
it
men
is different
and for
for men.
women?
Look, a woman correcting him. Look, a woman trying to correct a man, one of two things is going to happen. If he takes the correction, she loses all respect for him. He's weak.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't, and she gets angry at him for not doing it. Women can't correct men. Only men can correct other men.
Mhm.
And men, if you have no other men in your lives, you're missing out, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was out with my group of guys, engineering guys, and oh my goodness, did we start tearing into each other. It was all professional, it was all cordial, but holy shit, were we just beating the snot out of each other. It was an engineering question, but we were going at it. There was no holds barred within the confines of professional public discussion, right? We weren't physically beating each other, but there was no argument that was off the table. It's great. I love it. And I actually eventually it was kind of fun. I whipped out an argument, and one of the guys, you could tell he hated that argument. He hated it. But he couldn't argue with it. And that's how men correct each other. We talk, we work through the problem, and then eventually someone goes, here's the argument, and you're going to sit there as a guy and you're going to go, "Shit, you got me."
Well, we have a comment from Ashton. Does anyone want to respond to it? I hate how men are so sensitive toward women about being right when it does good for the man, or maybe she does good for the man to be helped and admired enough to be corrected.
Okay, so in the Bible, this does happen, but notice how it happens. It's not like some harpy woman. Nah. It's not some sense of, hey, I'm equal to this guy and I'm just going to treat him like another guy's going to. Nope. No. You come humbly, with respect, and showing that you actually care about the person you're trying to correct, especially if it's your husband, let's say.
Well, a lot of
Yeah, he
women
might
would
listen
say,
to you. But again, it's not common. This is not a common thing to happen all the time.
Hey, Elena, what's your favorite story about you correcting me? It has happened. It was a long time ago.
when we missed my yoga class because
Yes.
you messed up the time. I still
'Cause I
remember
messed up
that story.
Yeah, well, and see, guys, this happened like 7 years ago, okay? And she still remembers it.
It happened yesterday.
Pretty much. Okay.
It feels like it happened yesterday, yes.
Okay, let me
Go ahead.
go ahead. Let me take a shot at this. Where Charlotte says, "Oh, men correcting a woman, or women correcting a man," and he's sensitive to that. Hey, think about this. What would happen if the woman just keeps her mouth shut?
This is what actually happened.
I support you, and he just crosses her. She gives him peace. Remember how I said men keep evaluating what's going on and outside facts? What if she just kept her mouth shut and the man
He figured it
suffers the
out
consequences
eventually.
of his decisions and realizes that, holy shit, I was a dumb shit. I'm responsible. I take accountability. Isn't the outcome better? Do men have a self-corrective function? Even if the woman doesn't tell him he's wrong, is he eventually going to figure it out?
This is what happened in
I
that.
tend to think yes. In most cases, he will.
That's what happened.
Not in all cases.
Well,
This is what happened. I was quiet, and then he realized that the time was off.
Yep.
He was kind of not in the mood, so I didn't want to bother him. So I just went and did other things, and then he realized, oh, I messed up the time. I'm like, yeah, I missed my yoga class.
And you know, when that happened, it's like I had to eat some crow. And as you can see, guys, 7 years later, she still brings it up because women never forget.
Of course not.
But okay, now this is a trivial example, which actually makes it fun and lighthearted. But when we're talking about men and men really screw up, the Bible has a solution for that. You don't you did that, you know, like you don't go at the men, you go to the church. You're supposed to go to the church elders, you know, you need to go to other men and those men and explain the situation. And those men are supposed to then deliberate on that. And, you know, the church comes in and talks to the guy if it feels it's necessary, or maybe tells you, that's just not something worth getting your panties in a bunch over. Okay. Now, as we were talking about on Wednesday,
on that Wednesday,
yeah, the church doesn't perform that function anymore. But I think this is why you see a lot of women go around now to the guy's friend group and try to convince his friends that
that happened.
That to try to convince his friends that she's the one who's been wronged. And I think that can get kind of toxic, at least from how the females handle this, because
especially when the guy has no idea that's going on. Then you find the text messages later. Then your friends betray you. Then they try to convince you that you're a bad man. I'm like, how about you fuck off?
Well, I think the idea is that the church was supposed to do this because the church was supposed to have this biblical sort of codex for how to deal with women coming at these things, right? You know, they're supposed to have this biblical foundation for discernment. That's the word I'm looking for. To discern whether or not she's off the rails and she needs to be just told no, or the guy is, right?
Well, they become so gospel centered. If you do anything else but show the love of Christ, you're somehow some Pharisee.
Right.
Oh, you're about the patriarchy. Up, you're a Pharisee. You forgot the gospel. Are you kidding me? You fucking retards.
Yeah. You know what?
You started talking about the Trinity, not the gospel now. Oh, that's not good. Oh.
Women view any discernment or discipline as abuse. In most cases.
Well, so do the courts.
Yeah.
That is a cultural function. So when you hear feminism talking about the oppression of women, what they're talking about is that they're talking about the fact that they don't like that some structure comes in and tells them, oh, you're actually in the wrong. Feminism is really more, I mean, they used to call it women's liberation. And I think they were being a little more honest about what they were trying to achieve. They wanted women liberated from
consequences.
Consequence, yeah.
And from accountability.
Right. And they still do. And reality still imposes consequences.
Well, and
you have the fetus mills. You have no fault, divorce. You have imposed egalitarianism through various acts, legal acts.
Right.
Well, even when women say that, oh, I'm such a germ, I'm Nawalt. Not all women are like that. I'm special and unique. I'm not a feminist. I'm against feminism. Don't buy into her words. Watch her behavior. Because this is where they lie. They all have been propagandized. They all have been influenced by the feminist propaganda and ideology.
A lot of women's problems are not about influence and propaganda. They're just about the lack of restraint, of cultural restraint.
Yeah, but isn't it feminism that is ruining the...
Feminism is what's trying to dismantle the restraints but that does not mean that all women necessarily immediately latch on and start spewing feminist propaganda. Most of them
They
don't.
do it
Right.
on subconscious level. They may not realize that
No,
they are doing
they
it.
do it. They do it because there's no restraint. They
Look,
you're
they
you're
could be on team. They could be on team her man until she's not.
right. No restraint.
Well, the female liberation.
Right.
Isn't it
Steve, do you have any
feminism?
experience about a woman that you get that is not feminist in any sense, but then later she departs team her man?
Mhm.
Happens a lot. So I'm brought back to a comment we had on our last resurgent stream by Leroy, talking about Islam. Oh, aren't the women better over there? Yeah, maybe not, but they have the same nature. Isn't there a desire among men to go find where the good women are? Oh, Islam, you have a structure that keeps the women in line. I don't have to work so hard to do it. I'm looking for an external force to keep my woman well behaved or well disciplined. Okay, yes, society does play a role. And it's beneficial when society supports the husband's authority and headship, benevolent headship.
Mm-hmm.
But don't expect a religion, whether it be Islam, whether it be Catholic, whether it be Reformed Protestant, whether it be evangelical, don't expect them to keep your woman in line. I'm kind of using that term tongue in cheek, woman in line. Don't expect that to make her into a self-correcting woman with discipline. If society or the culture does that job for me, then I don't have to be the leader and make the hard decisions and hold people accountable. Yes, you know what? Sometimes you're going to have to hold your woman accountable.
But it makes it easier to hold you accountable if society is on your side.
Correct.
Absolutely. But don't expect society to hold your woman accountable without your participation or
Oh, of
your
course not. Yeah.
Right.
headship.
Right.
Because
Elena,
you're basically becoming a beta. You're becoming a beta simp,
Right.
basically.
Do-
Even though
do-
you think you're Mr. Patriarchy. No,
Nope.
you're actually abdicating.
Remember what I said in the beginning of the stream, okay? So these structures are supportive structures. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient, right? These structures, for example, the church should help inform men how to lead their families, but mom and dad still have to instill discipline in the children, right? The church can inform them of what might be a good model for how to do that, right? Yes, destroying these structures is bad because now parents don't know how to do this. Like, I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying that not having structure, not having the structures around it makes it a lot more work for those of us who do understand this about women. We now have to do everything that the structure does on our own. Okay. And that's a lot of work. But those structures were put there to help, to support. They are a support function, not the primary function. Okay. So when they come in and the feminists destroy a support function, they don't make it impossible. They think they do, but they don't. They make it more difficult. Now, for their agenda, more difficult is sufficient. Okay? Because they're getting what they wanted.
Yeah, they get what they want.
But they're also not getting what they wanted because
They get what they want early in life,
Right.
and then when they hit the wall, it's feminism
Right.
is so bad. It lied to me. Propaganda is so bad
So,
and evil.
a return of the structure would be great. It really would. But that's not something that's going to happen. Is it? And it is actually, I'm going to say this, Nick, please don't hate too much. It was the blind faith that the structure would control women that allowed us to be put in this situation that we are now in. It was the idea that the structure was sufficient.
What structure?
The societal structure, the church structure, that these
No.
things would be sufficient to create good women that the parents didn't have to. How many times did you send your kids
It's
off
kind
to
of like
Sunday school?
Yeah, a lot of church did that, but a lot of the church they ignored. They pigeonholed them as too radical, racists. You know, the 19th century theologians that warned, and early 20th century guys that warned of this crap. They said, "No, you're going to destroy everything." Nope, they what you pigeonholed them to
Yeah, we did a stream on
irrelevancy
this too,
because
didn't we?
yeah, like Dabney.
Well, are you
Yeah.
guys kind of getting at you can't turn a hoe into a housewife?
Yes.
Why, anything a man does if he's an undisciplined woman, you lack the capacity to reform her and impose structured, disciplined boundaries upon her.
She doesn't want.
I think
the
that's
structured
always
boundaries.
true. You know, a good woman will consent to
Ooh.
that position under you, consent to your authority,
Yeah.
and your enforcement of boundaries. But she has freedom of will, and if you impose that upon her, that actually is some form of abuse.
Right.
Because it won't work, and she'll rebel against it.
She'll rebel.
And
Yeah.
yep,
She'll rebel
Yeah.
against it because
she has to choose to be under your headship. And yeah, you got to be careful about that choice. She's pretending to be that kind of person who I'll cosplay into that role because I think I'll be happy, but it's all an act.
This is the trad wife problem that we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. I mean, just because she's behaving in a certain way for now, and Plutarch mentioned that, it means she's going to behave that way in 5 years. Nick even touched on that.
Right.
Oh, she's good
On
now.
Pearl Show. Well, I told that guy in Pearl Show, said, yeah, you can LARP. It's like you can role play traditional marriage, but you'll find out you don't really have a traditional marriage when one of you decides to step out.
And it probably won't be you, the guy, right? It'll probably be her. And we don't wish.
No, I
this
wish
on
some luck, right? You know,
Yeah.
don't wish it on anybody. No.
We wish you luck. We don't wish this disaster on anybody. But what I would say to that guy is your willful ignorance of the situation is giving her the latitude to do this to you. And that's kind of what I was trying to say a few minutes ago about these structures.
Trust.
This guy puts blind trust in the structure of the church to do everything required to keep his woman in line, and he doesn't have to do any of these things. And I think that's why we got where we got today with women and the church falling apart. Because go ahead.
And he believes he's a good man. He's a godly man. He follows Christ. Therefore, God will reward him with a trustworthy wife. And so, yes, I can
Work
trust
out
her.
for-
And I, because of my goodness, even though society is against me, I can still have this. Now, Nick, you were laughing at this. no sane
All
man
three of
would
us
believe
didn't
that,
work
would
for
they?
us. All three of us went through that.
Well, Nick, that must mean that the three of us are terrible men.
We're bad.
We're
I'm a
bad
bad
men.
man.
Yeah. You didn't trust you enough. You didn't
Right.
sacrifice enough.
Well,
right?
no, it means that we must have. Notice how it's always the
Failed.
man's fault. We must have done something to deserve this. And that
Mhm.
guy on Pearl's show was even trying to hint that there was something that you and Mr. Pop did that to deserve this. You weren't God. In his mind, it would be you weren't godly enough. And here's the thing that I'm going to say about that. When you see a guy doing that, he is not really telling you anything. He is really telling himself how good he is. That's really what that whole
He's trying
thing
to
is about.
convince himself that
He
he
has
is
a
so much-
covert contract with the Lord.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Now recognize what the three of us are doing. We're telling people, yeah, I didn't get this right. Man, the way I behaved was pretty pathetic in retrospect. I was at fault for this aspect.
Mhm.
Maybe not at fault for the whole divorce, but
Mhm.
my behavior, I was doing things wrong.
Yep.
Did that make me a lesser man for acknowledging that?
Apparently.
The three of us kind of get that idea that, yeah, you know, I need to tell the truth to other men.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, it is what it is. I'm neither proud of it nor ashamed of it. It just is the past. And I know other men are going through the same thing. It's a process, learning wisdom. And you learn it from experience and hard knocks. So, okay, yep, here's what I did. Didn't work. Maybe someone else can learn from it. I hope I've learned from it, but okay. So what? Life goes on.
Well, and yeah, you know, if once you get past the rage phase and you start to actually process through the things that you did wrong, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'd really like to share this with the other men in my life and share, you know, like we do now, share it with other men out there. You know, and we're saying, oh, but you're on Elena's stream. This is her channel. What are you doing here? Well, this would be my wife that we're talking about. And look, you know, what were we talking about? 20 minutes ago? You know, a time where I screwed up and then I owned it. And the whole thing actually in the relationship turned into this kind of laugh track. You know, it's done right. You guys, this can be one of those things where it actually strengthens the relationship, but you don't sit there and debase yourself for screwing up. It doesn't work.
Well, it also depends on whether a woman loves you and she is willing to stay with you just because.
Actually, I would say it more depends on whether or not she trusts you.
Yeah.
Trust is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on your frame control after you admit you made a mistake.
Yeah, you just admitted you don't go all over yourself and then
did I?
kiss the floor that she walks on.
Yeah, did I?
No, you didn't. This is why I'm saying that. Because everyone makes mistakes, right? We are all humans. We all make mistakes. And then if a man messes up, it just, okay, I messed up. I did this wrong, but let's move on, right? Life continues. So just don't debase yourself.
Yeah.
Well, life moves on, but he actually takes responsibility for his mistake and makes amends or says, I'm not going to do that. Or, yeah, I created a disaster. Now I got to fix it. I need your support in fixing it. Yes, it might be some hardship. You know, if he blows a bunch of money on something, he starts a business and it fails. Okay.
Which is actually
a mistake
common.
to start the business? Maybe. He learned some things from it. Okay. Is it a hardship for both of them? Yes, it is. He needs to support him in the decision to do it, and then recognize, oh, yep, it didn't work. And then move on. And so now they're both going to suffer. Keep supporting the man because he learned a lot. And, they'll be successful in the future. This is a temporary setback, especially if the woman continues to support him throughout this.
I've read many
Yeah.
biographies of great men, historic, considered to be heroes. Hey, a lot of them started businesses, and many times they had businesses fail. And eventually, they had some that succeeded. So,
So when I talk to VCs, one of the things that they said that they wanted to look for, that they actually look for, is people who've tried and failed. And everyone would say, well, that makes no sense. Wouldn't you want to pick a person who had a successful business before? And they go, no, because only the person who's failed has learned anything.
yeah.
So guys who are throwing hundreds of millions of dollars around the world want a failure. And women don't understand this.
Mhm.
Because if the guy tried and failed, he's a loser. So what woman wants him?
Right.
It's very short-sighted.
But the guys
We
who
have
are
an
throwing-
incoming president that had some failed businesses
Oh yeah.
and business ventures. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, but
And a lot of the women
guys-
think he's a loser.
Exactly. But the guys, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. We're talking about real wealth, real power.
Right.
Right. The guys who actually do this stuff, who actually have to put real hard cash on the line, want a failure. Huh. Interesting. Now, they're still going to, give you a colonoscopy on whatever the new idea is. But when you ask a VC, they will tell you that the guy who's failed is the guy who's actually learned something. A guy who's failed is less likely to fail in the future. Now, this is not true of all guys. If you've ever talked to a VC, you get it's a process. And one of the things that they are going to spend an enormous amount of time on is risk assessing you. And they're looking for discipline. But they're also looking for risk markers. I had a VC tell me straight up, yeah, sleeve tats, I just say no. Why? Because they view that behavior as a marker of risk. You're willing to take risks above and beyond what is necessary. And people say, oh, but these are guys who are risking $1 million on a business idea. Right. And they expect 9 times out of 10 to fail. Okay. And they still go through this. But women have no idea how to think about risk. None. It's the men who do. And that's really what I'm trying to say here is this guy who's giving you $1 million, 10 million, whatever, he's not trusting you with the money. He has done an enormous amount of risk assessment before he gives it to you. And he certainly doesn't love you. He doesn't give a shit about you. But after he does the risk assessment, he's going to go, what? You know what? You're trustworthy enough for this amount. So I will give it to you. But it's a colonoscopy, guys. It's if you've ever had to do it, you know what I'm talking about. But the guy who has failed is the guy, it's interesting because Elena is my second wife and my first marriage lasts 2.5 years. We are what, 8.5 now, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be 8.5. Oh, look, maybe I learned something.
Oh, yes. You learned that you needed to go and find the right person. And you found that. And now you've just sat back and just enjoyed things. And you haven't had to put
You
any
can
effort.
relax, yeah.
Right?
Guy, to all the men out there who think that Elena's, she's got this nice bright smile, her eyes smile. Yeah, this woman is no picnic, gentlemen. There is an enormous amount of work that goes into this one.
Oh,
You just
Hey.
killed the dreams, you know? You just
before we embarked on this venture together and me participating with Elena, do you remember the email I sent to you?
I did. I still have it.
What did I say?
Oh, you said a couple of things in there.
was it
'Cause-
the email that I didn't see?
Yeah, it was the one you didn't see. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up.
Yeah.
Actually,
Read
Ah.
it. See if in retrospect, if I was accurate about this. Because you know what? A man coming in and forming a relationship with a woman, it's a risky thing.
yeah.
So, okay, we're going to have, I will, and I have communicated privately with Elena.
No.
Not much, but we have boundaries over that. But you know what? We gotta get things squared away here.
Right. Let's see. So that was. Oh yeah, here it is.
Okay, because we didn't know each other very well when I sent that to you. So, was it a risk to send it to you? Well, kind of.
Yeah. I found it. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's the line that could be risky. You want me to read it?
Read as much of it as you want.
Okay, so I'll read the first paragraph. I enjoy the friendship with Elena. I love her as a father loves a daughter. I see her beauty and passion. Oh, there you go, Elena.
My crown.
But thinking as a 61-year-old man, I have no desire to have such a young woman at this point in my life, assuming I met another woman with her traits.
Oh, that's such a compliment, Steve.
Kind of.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't need to read the rest. He's talking
I
about
basically said he's a handful.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to deal with that much of a handful.
That's what I said. It's not that much of a compliment there.
Well, you know what?
I have to take
Here's
it
the
from
thing.
the positive side.
Here's the thing. You find a good woman, okay, she's going to be a handful. Because you're going to have to stay on top of things. The more passionate and intelligent she is, the more you're going to have to stay on top of it. Make sure you're up for the challenge. If you find an exceptional woman, it's going to take an exceptional amount of thought and attention and dealing with her. So, yeah, she's not a wallflower. Well, you know what you sign up for.
Well, so
and that's
on that.
That's just reality. That's not a slam. That's just reality.
So on that, you finished the email with, so in summary, I think Elena is a handful, but worth the effort. I will continue to bait, challenge her. And I sense that she has respect for me as a father figure. Mm-hmm. As her husband, I expect you to tell me if her actions or if my actions are causing any potential problems. And I would. And Steve knows that.
So, you know what? I think that was you know what? What did I do? I put it out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I risked saying some things that might be offensive. I didn't know what he would say about it. But without knowing his reaction, okay, I'm setting up my boundaries here. This is what I'm about. Take it or leave it.
So many guys are going to say that I'm bad for letting you do that and letting you two work together at all. But most of the time Nick is there. But they would say because it's some sort of dereliction of duty on my part.
Well, you do actually trust me in this case, you know.
A little bit.
Well,
More
that,
I try.
and we're
more I trust Nick and
1,500
Steve.
miles apart, so that help makes it easier.
Yeah, and I have said that on stream before. You know, they're 1,500 miles away. Well, but you know, is it so much that I trust Elena, or is that I trust Nick and Steve?
You probably trust them more than you trust me, darling, at this point.
I'm just
Ooh.
saying. I'm just saying. You know, it. And a lot of guys would say, "Oh, that's wrong. You can't trust another man." Or you know, if it, because I'm thinking of an article, you know, it's that's been passed around the red pill, you know, and one of the section headings is they'd fuck your wife if they could. They're talking about alphas.
Well, alphas would fuck anything that moves.
No. Believe it, an alpha actually has discipline and restraint.
Okay.
Somebody who's simping for pussy will fuck anything that moves.
See, that's the mistaking that all PUA guys are alpha. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm really saying is I trust the discipline of Nick and Steve. I also trust that they're 1,500 miles away and it's a production for any of them to. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it'll be like out in front, but there will be signs.
There always are.
Right. So, but see, that's how trust works. Notice how I trust the character of Nick and Steve, but there's 1,500 miles in between to the, of warning in between.
But there was a decision to trust. And it makes it easier when you set up the boundaries.
Yep.
And you know the intentions of the people. And then, okay, I can trust at this level. And then through experience, you recognize, oh, yeah, okay, this still works. Does that mean you stop being vigilant? No.
Nope.
But
No,
you get things out there and it makes life easier.
I want to go back to the intentions that you mentioned, Steve. They definitely help, but a lot of people will fake. And I'm not talking about you guys, but like in general, you look at the trad wives or Navalt women who say, "Oh, I have such good intentions. I'm so serious. I want a serious man. I want the right man, and I'll be loyal, and I'll do all of the things that." Yeah, you think it's. But this is what they say, right? They keep throwing these promises that she will be this perfect wife for the perfect guy.
This is easy.
The mask she wears.
Yeah. Well, in this particular case, I think the mask is the lady doth protest too much.
Uh-huh.
She's looking for something external to create her, to cause her to be the woman that she wants to be. Nothing to do with me. It's all, I'm not who I want to be, or I'm not happy because of external factors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just met the wrong man. I haven't met my person yet. I was unhappy because of him. It's looking outside, not looking inside.
Not self-reflecting. Yeah.
Forbes is like, oh, but all you men, you're all about the same thing. No. Generally, if you're red pilled, that usually comes with a lot of crushing self-reflection.
A good part of the red pill, I think, is the Kubler-Ross model of dealing with grief. We all talk about the red pill rage phase, and that's in there. But at some point, you have to get past that, and you have to do the actual work of saying, okay, where did I go wrong? And for some guys, the rage phase doesn't last very long. For some guys, they can never get out of it. But if you never get out of it, you can never get to the point of actually improving yourself for the next opportunity, shall we say. Right. For me, I knew the marriage was over a few months. I knew when the therapy was canceled by my ex. But really looking back, I should have known about 6 months in advance of filing. It would be about February or March of 2014. But you learn from that. And so one of the things that I had to reflect on and learn and was, well, okay, you need to be more willing to cut off the trust, cut off the love, right? You, at some point you just have to say, nope, it's over, it's done.
It's over, yeah.
And I needed to say that sooner for both of us.
Yeah, okay. Men love too much.
Yep.
When times get tough, especially Christian men. Well, you know, I evaluated her and she was a good woman. And if I just love her enough, she's not like those other women. I can actually fix this. Because you know what? She's better than most other women. She's not like all other women.
Nay, Walt.
Sorry, guys.
Mm-hmm.
She is like all other women. She's going to behave in the way you've heard women who divorce and other women in the manosphere and the stories. Yes, she is like that. No, you didn't pick a unicorn who just made a bad decision and who now wants to leave you. Or she just made a bad decision just that one time and, you know, slipped and fell on her back and her pants fell to her ankles. And, oh, it was just an indiscretion, but it really wasn't her fault.
Yeah, right.
No.
Bullshit.
Okay, you know what? If she is checked out, it's a permanent checkout. It's not temporary. Women, once they check out, it's permanent.
I think women
99.9% of the time, it's permanent. I'm leaving in that 0.1% that, okay, maybe she'll come to her senses. But I've never seen that happen. And you're delusional if you're going for this fictitious 1.1% that I leave out there because I'm not 100% certain. I'm only 99.9% certain.
I think women do a better job.
I've actually seen it happen, but I think part of it was also the guy had frame. She was being completely effing retarded, and the community around her called her out on it.
Oh, so you mean society does bring women?
Yeah.
There are still.
It's just very rare.
Yeah.
Don't count on it. Do not count on it.
Yeah.
Do not.
Well, and
It does happen, but do not.
And I think women are far better at recognizing and cutting off relationships. I think they're far more recognizing of when they've lost trust and just done. Well,
but for them to lose trust, it doesn't take long.
I know.
I mean,
well, and
especially today, when they're being told that the moment he doesn't suit you, you can replace him with
I agree.
better man out there.
I agree. But the point here is that women are going to be much quicker to cut it off than men are. And honestly, I think part of what you're seeing is that men are getting more willing to cut it off, and the women are just wailing into TikTok over it. So don't listen to their wailing, guys. They will do this to you in a fucking New York minute. Because trust is a two-way street, and women have been told, and now this is a structural propaganda bit. Women have been told that men are inherently untrustworthy, and so women have always been better at cutting things off They've always been quicker to, but society has now given them unlimited reason and cover for doing so. So they now choose to not trust because they've been told that they should not trust.
Mhm.
And so one of the other things that I would say to that is, look, men, when some grifter comes around saying, oh, just pray with her more, and you just have to love her more and trust her more. Yeah, that same society is telling her not to trust you at all. So no, don't buy it. It's a load of horse shit that's designed to get you to behave in a certain way that benefits not women, not your wife. I don't believe that this benefits your wife, even. This
Not in the long run. And this is
Right.
what I would say to women too. When you hear these kinds of messages, and I've seen them on social media all over, don't trust it, because it just gives you the short dopamine hit that you want.
No,
Yeah, it sounds
no,
nice in the short term, but then
No, sweetie. That message is not for you. It's not to make your relationship stronger. From a propaganda standpoint, if somebody's propagandizing you, it's never about making your life better. It's about making something else better. What that thing they're trying to make, what that thing they're trying to get is a topic for a whole nother stream. We don't have time, especially since we've been at this for 2
but
hours.
they are trying to convince women, and women might buy into this because of
Oh,
their
whoa, hold
short-sighted
on.
thinking.
Oh, hold on. You started out. We are trying to convince women.
Are we? We're trying to convince men.
Whoa, just stop that. Stop doing something so futile and silly. Convincing women of anything is just a recipe for disaster. You will never convince a woman of anything. Stop it. Just live your own life.
There might be a few. Look,
No,
here. She
Oh,
challenges
okay.
feminist propaganda, and I'm quite proud of her. We need to give women some credit here, that they are actually okay. Some of them, most of them are not going to bother, right? But there will be a couple who will maybe.
Sweetie,
Yeah, but why
Did you
focus on that 2 out of a million that can be convinced? Women respond to environment and the situation.
and the group.
Don't get convinced by a rational argument. Sorry, it just doesn't work that way.
And do you think
So-
you convinced her, or did
The
circumstances?
Probably the circumstances, you
Right.
know. But it helps with women. It's like they are constantly looking for the validation or the confirmation.
They're looking for group validation.
Exactly. So I'm trying to give them the group validation that, yes, ladies, there is a different camp here. Okay, it's not a fucked up feminist propaganda bullshit, but here, come here.
Okay.
And
You said something in there. You're
your
trying to
beliefs.
give them a group validation. Isn't that kind of the same thing about Team Woman placating and pandering to other women?
Yep.
Okay, that theme falls just kind of, it's an undertone. The only thing you can really do is live your life as an example. Be an example of a good wife. Talk about it. Talk about your struggles. Be accountable. You've done a good job in this stream, and we've talked about a lot of kind of somewhat personal, but not really. The aspects, my email, your reaction, your approach, your reaction when Plutarch says no, he doesn't implicitly trust you, but he does love you. So all that is you are acting by you're being an example of how a woman can have a good life, even though men are talking about these scary patriarchal things. You're not teaching them anything. All you're doing is being an example. And then when the women out there who might stumble across this and listen and say, damn, My life is shit. Maybe I could try that. Okay, you're not teaching them anything. You're just being the example.
Think about it this way. When a woman says, or a woman, or somebody accuses me of saying, well, but you mean you don't trust Elena? They're not saying that for me. They don't care. I'm already man bad, right? I'm a man, therefore I'm bad. They're saying that to get an emotional reaction out of you. And when you don't react, they go, whoa, wait a minute. This girl over here is thinking something else. She's doing something else. Huh. And so, what Steve is talking about of providing an example is exactly that. So when you don't react with emotional negativity to their accusation, you're providing an example for other women to go, oh, wait, you mean that's okay? You mean he doesn't have to trust me implicitly for a relationship to work? What is this sorcery?
And it's external versus internal validation. You're measuring your success about influencing and educating other women. Your success is determined on what they do. If you're determining your success on being an example of a good woman to your husband and talking about it, your success is measured by being the example. It's an internal measurement. It's the candle in the wilderness. You can see it from miles away, but you're not going to light up any darkness with it. You're just a beacon of hope.
Well, this is why I don't like what some women are doing. Like, I see two extremes.
Nope.
Some of them. Oh, let me tell you what I see, darling.
No, sweetie, I have to listen to you tell me what you see every day at lunch.
Well,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Okay, let me tell it to Steve and Nick.
No. They have heard this all before too.
Like there is this crazy obsession. Like they can't be normal or just like behave like in a normal way.
No, don't. No. You cannot convince them. There is no stick. There isn't even a carrot. There is only being an example of a different path, a different way. That's it. There's only the contrast. And the only way to show that contrast is to just show it, is to just live it. You don't get
like 1 Peter 3.
Yes. I know. I know exactly what you're talking about there, Nick. It's this idea that you can beat people into doing what you think they should do. Christians, the successful missionaries that I've worked with, they never go out into their field and start beating people up about being bad people and they need to be Christians. They go out, they quietly work with them, they help them, they build relationships, they talk to them, and then eventually people go, wow, this is a really cool person. I want to learn more about them. Well, why are you doing this? I've done missionary work before, and the question is always, well, why are you here helping me? It makes no sense to these people.
Well, if they don't see it as help, then there is not much you can do anyway.
Well, that's that. No, when you go out and do mission work, you don't worry yourself about how they see it.
I mean, I'm talking about women. Like you're trying to help them. You're trying to help them to bring more light, and
you treat it like missionary work. You treat it like
it's no guaranteed results.
Exactly. There's no guaranteed results. And you just go out there and you be the example. You're the candle in the wilderness, as Steve said. They can see it coming from miles, but they don't understand it. And you won't necessarily see them make the change. One of the things when I was doing it is I did a bunch of short-term stuff. I didn't get to see the change. Now I actually did, because I went back to the same place multiple times over the years, and I actually did get to see it. But it wasn't my work that did it. My work was a small part of it. Okay. There were missionaries there who were there full time, and they actually did a lot of the work, the day-to-day work. But by showing up for a week or two or whatever it was, these people would be like, because they understood the long-term guys, they understood their goals, if you will. But they're like, well, why did you show up? You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to give up a week of your life for this. Okay. That to them had a very different impact than the long term. Okay. Both were necessary, and it worked, but it was, and we were actually, the first day you do your orientation, you're actually told, look, you're not here to proselytize. We were actually told that if we were asked questions about Christianity, to send them to the long term. The guy running it was an ordained minister, right? You send them to them. Those questions, that's not what you're here for.
You're only there to be an example.
Exactly. And I know that's hard. And
it takes age and wisdom to understand this.
Yeah. And being an example it's really easy to want to rage at the world and tell the world how to be. But it's not effective, because
we can look at this different, missionaries are perfect examples. Go out there and win souls for Christ.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell people about Jesus and how much he loves them, and I'm going to swoop in and I'm going to save souls, and then I'm going to move on and I'm going to save more souls. Well, okay, that's one approach. The other approach is move in there, live amongst them, practice your faith, and be an example. And it might take you 5 years, 10 years. Okay, I mean, this is the way that the Catholic, what was it, the Franciscans, who converted Mexico to Catholicism. They came in there and they lived amongst them for years. And they made we could say they made a profound impact on society, because Mexico is mostly Catholic. That didn't come about by going in there and telling people about Jesus and what they should do. It came in there to live amongst them, help them in their daily lives, and be an example. And it made a profound impact. But it took a lot of years of doing it.
Yeah.
So the outfit that I was working with when I did these short-term trips, it was 10 years before the local, I'm not going to say what they were doing because it's not the point, but before the target audience, if you will, even allowed them into their culture. Now the guy is accepted as one of the elder leaders. I mean, but this was, goodness, 20 years ago when they started. Now he's accepted as an elder. They trust their kids with him. They do a whole bunch of kids activities year round. They have like it's not like a school, but it's like, like an after school program, right? To keep the kids out of some pretty bad things that are going on in that community. So it can be done. It's going to take a long time. You're going to have a lot of setbacks, and there's going to be people who hate you, and that's all okay. But
I don't mind people who hate me.
Well, but really what I'm getting at is being the example. It's going to take a long time, but it's going to be more successful. you're actually going to reach more women in this case. And the one thing you cannot do is sit up there. If you're going to be the example, you can't sit up there and browbeat them, because you're actually not demonstrating. When you get up there and you rage into the camera, you know, are you demonstrating being a good wife? Are you?
Well,
Alright.
what really? Okay, guys, demonstrate being a good wife. Then you just shut up and do your work. You know, you don't need social validation. You don't need to do anything, right? But then you see these wives who are like, "Oh, my husband bought me this. Oh, we went on this fancy trip. Oh, look at the ring that I got. Oh, we
Yep,
are
yep,
going
yep.
here and there." And then the
Yeah.
women view it as
That's
kind of success. You know?
yeah. There will be many who fall astray along the way, sweetie. That's part and parcel of this work.
That's all superficial.
Yep.
Yep.
And, you know, we talked about some dynamics and some things that were previously private. So, I mean, that's reality. Everybody has things like that. We're being more genuine. We're not being superficial. And by doing that, oh man, these people, yeah, they got real things going on. They're not just putting on an act. They're actually struggling with some of these things. Oh, maybe they don't have all the actions or answers. Oh, maybe they struggle with some of
Imagine
these
that.
same things that we do. Okay, well, that's an example of real life.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that email, that's why I said, you know, Steve, do you want me to read that? I wasn't going to put that out there, but if he's willing to put that out there, okay. When you're trying to live an example, you don't do it by beating your chest about how good of an example you are.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you don't have to talk about it. I still showed up, and we were told, well, you know, if they ask you what you're doing here, you say, you know, look, you're here with the mission. You know, you're helping out. You're here because you want to be. Okay. And I did choose to do this. So
Sure.
I was here because I wanted to be here. I wanted to do this. And that goes, well, why did you want to do this? Well, you know, I enjoy helping people out when I can help, how I can help. And to a lot of people, that concept is just mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I view this no different. I view this work no differently.
Yeah.
I'm here because I want to help men. I am not here to make money. As we've said, we will probably never monetize this channel. Yeah, even if we could, because consider this, guys and gals listening. If we did
We don't want the
monetize,
carrot and the stick.
well, if we
Sorry.
did monetize this channel, there's a whole bunch of things we couldn't say anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Here's the carrot. Here's the stick. Well,
Right.
guess what? You don't want that. So
right.
it's a little freeing.
So instead, we just go, who cares about the monetization? Who cares about using this to make money? I mean, all three of us have jobs. All three of us can work whenever we want. You know, like we're all getting paid anyway. We don't need this YouTube thing to make us any money. So we just do it. It also makes the relationships a little easier because we're not sitting here fighting over the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not trying to tickle your ears and
Yeah.
exploit you, our audience, in order to make money. Nah, you can hate us if you want. You can like us if you want. I don't care. As long as I cause you to think, and if I cause you to hate me for what I say, gee, I had an impact on your life, so I win.
Yep.
I
So-
wish I could monetize my fitness.
Oh, why?
Well, it's just so that I could make some money out of it. Because
Oh, see? Women have no altruism. How many times have we said that?
I mean,
Women have no altruism.
I've been teaching fitness. So let's be honest here, like for over 4 years now on YouTube.
Don't worry about
And,
it. What
you
did I tell
know-
you? What did I tell you? Don't worry about it. If you want to actually reach women, if you want to actually help them, if you want to actually make your life better by making the lives of the women around you better, set all that aside.
Do it for free.
It's not-
Charity
no,
work.
it's
Charity
not-
work.
Can I?
Not about doing it for free. It's
Can
about
I have
say
been.
it?
I have been doing it for free.
Can I say it differently? Elena,
Mm.
make your mission an extension of your husband's mission. To be out there telling the truth, to be an example in influencing people, but not telling them what to do. And there's no need for you to make money from it because you are an extension of his mission. Now, if you take it to internal dynamic, well, he's making all the money and I want to contribute. Well, that's a personal thing that it's an insecurity that if I could make money from my YouTube channel, I could contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, would he view you as better?
nope.
If you contributed $1,000 a month, would it make any difference to him?
Nope.
No. It would make you feel better because I'm contributing. Who gives a shit? It's not even important to him. So why strive for that? Just for self-validation?
Well, okay, Elena, you were talking about how the sisterhood and society is telling women to go out and
Mhm.
what did you just say there?
Yeah, well, I just say
You
that.
just said I need the
Mhm.
validation. I need the independence. I need the you just said all of that.
No, I mean, I don't need the independence.
No.
But it would be nice.
No.
If,
Yeah, no. You just-
Nope.
There it is. See, the reason we're bringing all this up is because this is actually a great example. It's
Mhm.
actually a great example of what this looks like. Okay. Elena does not need to make money on her YouTube. She just doesn't need to. In fact, and I told her when she started this that if she ever actually did, all we would do with it was plug it back into, like better equipment.
Mhm.
Like that's because that, if the mission is to get out there and influence women, that could help. Okay, fine. But the point is, it was never about you contributing to the family or, any of that.
Mhm.
And so Steve's on point. And what you're doing is an extension of our mission. It's why do you think the three guys show up, or the two guys, or even just Steve when it's just Steve? Why do you think they're doing this because they want to monetize the channels? No.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know, guys.
Right. So
It's like when I was a pastor. Did I do it for the money? I could have done a lot. I could have moved away, done what I've been doing now, except I've been making a lot more money than I'm making now. I never did it for the money.
So I never do it
Well-
for the money either.
You
Yeah,
have
see how much she's struggling?
examples.
Oh, it's just
Nick.
okay, fine.
You got examples in your family, immediate and uncles, of guys with a lot of skill and intelligence that made a lot of money. And you obviously have the same potential, or similar potential that they do. You chose to go a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Try your hand at that. You didn't choose money.
No,
Well, now
I
you're
purposely
forced in
walked
a
away from it.
different. You're forced in a different direction. Well, okay, now you're choosing to make more money
Sure.
and go into that sphere. Who knows where you'll be in 10 years?
right?
That's circumstances change.
Well, and I noticed that it's easier to make money for women on social media and on YouTube when they are single.
Well, it's not just
Man.
Yeah.
and give men attention or something to like.
Right.
Mhm.
You know,
It-
you know what
their
else?
bodies. Most
Notice it's also more successful for women to make money if they show their intimate bit.
Well, true.
Yep.
I'm not doing that.
Right. You're not going to do that. So, and I, again, when she got on YouTube, I told her, look, I could tell you how to get 10,000 followers tomorrow. It's
Oh,
not that
I
hard,
know how to
but she
get it.
didn't want to do it.
Of course not.
And
I'm not a public whore, darling. What
well,
is
and I didn't want you to. And I told her, look, if you actually did that, yeah, just the papers are in the mail.
exactly?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
He-
But
and to Pearl's credit, he's not willing to compromise her message for monetary gains.
yeah, why do you think guys listen to her? Now she does. She has a full production staff. She actually does need to get some money from somewhere, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it's
she
we're,
didn't
we're on
take
a
the easy
scale
route.
here.
well, she didn't take
No,
the
she
easy
didn't.
way.
Nope.
And you can take the hard way or you can take the easy way. The easy way is pretty much exactly that, but it comes with pretty serious consequences. And in your case, the easy way means you don't help women. And by not helping women, you're not helping yourself.
Mhm.
Women do not understand this at
Yeah.
all.
Well, they want to like sell everything, you know. If they have some secret knowledge, let's say, right? They know something. They always want to monetize it, and they are not willing to share it for
Mhm.
free.
No, they mostly
No,
just
like
monetize.
Gnosticism. Yeah.
They mostly just monetize, as Steve said, they're mostly just monetizing their intimate bits. I mean, OF is as big as it is for a reason. Again, beyond the scope of this stream, but yeah, when you're out here, the purpose of this work is not to make money.
Well, we're at 2.5 hours.
And we've gone far
Yeah.
far afield.
Should we make closing statements here?
We should.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go first?
We should make Elena go first.
Oh no! Please, you guys go first.
No,
That's-
put her on the spot.
That's right.
This is your stream. Be the leader.
Oh no! I prefer to listen to you guys. I made a lot of notes. I might actually write an
Okay,
article.
I'll go
about
first.
it. Okay, yeah, you go first.
Okay, this is on Elena's stream for a reason. Hey, we are going to touch on this same topic on our stream. It's, yeah, pretty much the same thing. We're going to have a whole new conversation. Hopefully, we'll bring in a guest for that one. But when you put a woman in amongst the men, you get a different discussion because it takes a different dynamic, which is a good thing. Also, it's a good thing when men talk about the same subject with only men around, which our channel is only men. But we like to discuss things with women, so we come on here and talk about the same thing. So the lesson for this, for those of you who are still around, is there's love and there's trust. Love can be unconditional. Trust is a different matter. Don't consider them the same thing. And think about how much you trust and continue to validate and set up for the conditions of trust. And you may trust in one area almost totally, in another area, not so much, but you got to keep evaluating how much to trust.
All right, Nick, you want to go?
Okay. Trust, love. Yes, they're different. Men and God do love generally unconditionally. Men and women, you have to remember, don't always love the same. Love does not equal trust. Like, for instance, yeah, we trust Christ. Christ will never let us down. Christ loves us perfectly. Do you think he trusts us to always treat him correctly? Hell no. Yet he loves us nonetheless. Trust and love are different. Look, even a father, right? Generally, the children should do trust their father. They love their father, hopefully. Father loves his children unconditionally. Does he trust them to always do what's right? He probably has a modicum of trust in comparison to how they've lived their life, if they accept responsibility. But does he completely trust them? No. Trust is earned. Love isn't. That's my summation.
Trust is earned, and yeah, love isn't. You know, as I was thinking about this, every time I hear the accusation of you don't, because it's my wife. Well, you don't trust Elena, and there's a reason why I say, yeah, you're right, I don't. And the look on their faces, crestfallen. Just how could I say that? But then, I mean, that's the quick look. Like that's the disbelief. It very quickly shifts to looking to Elena for that reaction. Now, Elena understands. She's been around the red pill long enough. She's heard all of the stuff. She's dealt with women. She understands. But oftentimes I think that what ends up happening is that particularly other women try to weaponize this concept of trust against men.
By
And
convincing the woman, convincing the woman. Mhm.
they're trying to convince the man that he is being immoral somehow for not placing absolute trust in his wife. And I'm going to say this, Nick, you can pipe up if you think I'm wrong. What I think they're actually trying to do is what they're actually doing, in fact, is making the wife the god, because they're saying you should place complete faith in your wife because God places complete. Actually, no. When you make that argument, when you make that statement of well, what you're telling me you don't trust Elena, I go, yes, I don't, because Elena is not a god. You trust one person and one only, and that is God. That's the only one that you can trust completely. Everything else is on a trust but verify. And usually when this comes up and it's an argument about, well, it's usually, when I hear it, it's usually an argument about the red pill. Well, why don't you trust Elena? It's like, because I have access to the data. I know that something could happen. She could change her mind.
Then they start digging into the data and they say that, oh, this data is just opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
well, then if you trust her completely and she's a completely trustworthy person, right? Then, hey, why don't we just have lunch with other guys? Go have one-on-one
Exactly.
relationships.
Mhm.
Exactly.
No.
Believe it
No.
or not, the best thing that I can do for my relationship is to not trust my wife completely. And that's really what I want guys to hear. The best thing you can do for your relationship is to not trust your wife completely. She is not a goddess. She is not perfect. But if you give her the latitude, and if you believe the feminists, and the egalitarian church people, church creatures, who tell you that that's what you have to do, they are telling you to put your wife in harm's way. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. So I will not trust her that way, that completely.
Yeah, and if you trust her completely, she loses all respect for you, and then she
Yeah,
leaves you anyway.
that's almost a secondary concern,
Mhm.
because she's going to lose trust in me over a whole bunch of different things. Okay, this is about my trust. This is about me and my trust. My lack of trust keeps her safe, because I'm checking, I'm verifying, I'm keeping tabs on, I am oppressing.
I was going to keep my mouth shut, but I got to say this. Society, culture, Christianity tells a woman to never unconditionally trust a man.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it tells men to always unconditionally trust your wife.
Yeah,
That's a failure.
it is a failure.
Because it promotes rebelliousness in women.
Yes, sir. It does. Saw it with my first wife. Saw it. And I did the whole church. You got to trust her completely. You got to love her. I did all of that. Yeah, exact. Yeah, Nick, exactly. Nick and I have been there, done that, have the t-shirt. Don't think we'll be making that mistake again. So no, to the world, because I love my wife, I do not trust my wife.
And I actually wouldn't take you any other way, honestly, because sometimes I can't trust myself, and I'm pretty sure a lot of women internally, if they actually ask themselves this question, and if they self-reflect, they would realize that like they can't even trust themselves. Why would they want a man to trust them completely? Women are looking subconsciously, they are looking for the man to say no to them, to set healthy standards and boundaries for them. And when they can't find it in a relationship with a man, they go and find it, they try to create these situations around them where they will be held accountable. I think there is a reason why, like, they go, I brought it up last time, and I was watching the show that Donovan Sharp is doing, where he is showing the women getting in trouble in public places. They steal and then they get arrested. They are looking for, subconsciously, they are looking for somebody to hold them accountable.
It's that's just an extension of child behavior. Children are they push the boundaries to the point of failure, or where the discipline comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And if they never got any discipline when they were kids, they will never respect any boundaries in their adult life. That's what you're describing right there. So guys, if you're looking for a good woman, look for a disciplined woman. But don't trust her. Not completely.
Yeah. She doesn't want you to trust her completely anyway.
That's my message.
She wants you to love her unconditionally, but they conflate the two. They equate unconditional love to unconditional trust.
Yep.
Because they never mention that, they never talk about trust. I haven't heard them talking about trust. They don't separate the two.
Oh, don't. No, we said it earlier. The feminists talk about trust all the time, as in don't. So
yeah, don't. Yeah.
Anyway, oh goodness,
don't trust the man, and he's supposed to love her unconditionally. This is the message.
Yep. It is wrong. It won't work. It's actually intentionally designed not to work. So we've been at this for almost 3 hours now.
Yep. Okay, let me show guys the schedule here as usual. Here is our schedule, guys. We run these deep dive conversations with the Resurgence of Sanity guys at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Saturdays. Then join me for regular workouts from Monday through Friday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific. And then go subscribe to the Resurgence of Sanity YouTube channel and join guys on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. Pacific for their interesting discussions sometimes with guests, right? Cool. Okay. Remember to tell us what you think about this topic, what you think about love and trust in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Elena's Barre, Elena's Barre, the best place on the internet, the very best by far.